for the worst, that's a high sign. It's time to go. He really doesn't text you late at night?
Not really, no.
Does he ever, when you're laying in bed and can't sleep, you can't get things off your mind, you just pick up your phone, then your first instinct is to just open up Facebook, and then immediately you get a message that says, hey, you still up? That never happens to you?
No, not really. No? He leaves me alone.
What the hell, man? I only do that to you, Bo, because I know you're the only person I know that's up at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's totally different.
Is anybody up right now? It's going to be Bo. What kinds of activities are we talking here? Are we talking like softball, football, like arts and crafts?
No.
Is it fun stuff? Is it weird stuff that they do?
They do cheerleading, so
okay.
It seems like that's cool. Why I couldn't do it until 8 because we had a cheerleading meeting. So, yep.
I'm
the cheer dad.
Still doing the acting thing?
Not really anymore. She wants to, but it's just that's always during the summertime, and it's like hard when you're busy doing things, and it's like to make the commitment sometimes is hard in the summertime to say, yeah, you can be here for 4 weeks straight every night.
She was pretty good at it though, man. She's got the pizzazz for it.
Oh yeah. I always say that she's going to be my lawyer. She's going to support me when I get older.
Bring in the big bucks. All right, I think everybody
should walk in the room and be like, nope, he's fine. He's out of here. We don't even want to deal with her.
Yeah. You got 2 girls?
Yes.
Yeah. How's that? I don't have any kids, so I don't know how this goes. I got cats.
I got cats.
Really comparable.
I got cats.
It's like being friends with AJ.
Is it?
What does that mean?
Oh man, Katie, I'm getting snipped.
Oh jeez,
we haven't started
yet. All right. Hey, then it turned to the worst already.
We haven't even had kids yet.
We're talking about getting
Jamie said they're going to be
already.
like AJ.
Wow. It's a joy.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a joy. I should be proud how great they're going to be. Handicaps be damned.
They mow your lawn, take out your garbage.
They mow your lawn.
Take out the recyclables.
They're going to tell me that I'm not doing it right.
Exactly.
You're not doing that right, man. All right.
Family advice with the Rhythm Pyro Podcast.
Don't have kids.
By 3 dads and a guy that's going to get snipped.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. We're Posey, AJ, and Jamie. Ignite your passion for pyro musical show design while testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. I'm Bo. That's AJ.
Hola.
That's Jamie.
What's up?
Welcome back, Jamie.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, welcome back, buddy.
Welcome back, Jamie.
We're
hobbyists and semi-professional pyro show designers, big fans of modern pyro musical, and a little podcast is a place where we can get together and talk shop. Fireworks art, share tips, tricks, news, and insights with you. Casting call for the monthly bonus episode is going to go up here in like 2 days. I'm committing. I think we're going to open 2 chairs. So be on the lookout for that. If you remember the Patreon, patreon.com/Rhythm Pyro.
It's going to be fun.
You said 2 days. That means Sunday, right?
No, well, I don't know. Sunday. That's funny.
Yeah, technically when they hear this.
That's funny.
That's funny.
This week's guest is esteemed and needs no introduction because he's been mentioned by name here on the podcast more times than I can count on 2 sets of hands in Spanish. Marcus Berger from Fireworks Forever. Is it St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin? Am I pronouncing that right? Okay.
That is correct.
Have you lived there forever?
Well, that's where our warehouse is at. I live about 30 minutes south of where our location is.
Oh, that's cool.
Only in the winter, though, because in the summer, he just lives at work. So,
yeah, there's that.
We got a little taste of the after hours, what you do in your office. Where'd you take that selfie at? Did you take that in your home office or is that at work?
Yeah, that was in my home office.
Oh my God, last night was hilarious.
Oh my God. That was the talk
Zach
of one of the
was killing
Discord. That was the talk of one of the Discord chats for no less than like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Tell Zach he's dead to me.
Count is deleted.
Inflation is real.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Back to 2020 pricing for you.
What's the running joke? The discount gets taken away.
Yep, exactly. You get bumped down.
Yeah, I don't like getting bumped down.
I imagine you're going to come out of this feeling lighter than you did after your last colonic, after AJ gets done sucking your butt for 2 hours to curry favor and get some discounts.
Great discounts. I get the same thing as everybody else. What are you talking about?
Right. That's it.
So tell me about Fireworks Forever.
Well, I mean,
how long have you guys been in business?
We technically started in 1981. And then that started with a small retail store back in the days when our laws were you couldn't touch product. You had to have everything behind glass cases. And
really,
from there, we morphed into a couple more stores. And in the early 2000s, we expanded one of our stores and then put on our warehouse. And from there, we just been going on from there. That's when we started doing wholesale in about late 2000s. And here we are now.
So in 1981, you weren't born. So when did you get into Fireworks Forever?
If you really want to call it unofficially, it's when I was 7.
Unofficially?
Yeah, officially it was when 2007 after I graduated college.
Oh, when you said 7, I was thinking when you were 7 years old. I was like, Jesus.
That's what I thought he was going to say too.
Unofficially, unofficially it was 7 years old. I was I was a little kid in the back room pulling the fireworks for everybody.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Free labor.
Yeah, I'm sure
exactly.
it wasn't free.
You got to keep the fireworks
like
behind glass cases, but all the kids, all the neighborhood kids that you see on the street, and put them to work. What's the glass case thing? I've never heard that before.
Well, so like basically display cases, like glass display cases. So, I mean, back in that time, Wisconsin laws were people couldn't grab the fireworks and bring them up to counter. You had to have them displayed, and they would basically give you an order sheet and say, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then we would go pull that stuff from them, and then they'd pay for it and give it to them. To now where we're at, where we have 2 stores where, people can get a shopping cart and fill up. So, Texas is kind of like that, where you have to have, you see a lot of containers for stores down there and products behind them, and then people will point, I want this, I want that, and they hand it to them. Where you can't you can't just grab from
crazy.
a shelf.
It's like it's almost like firearm sales.
It's like that in Louisiana too.
Really?
Yeah. So when you go down there, same thing. It's like he said, you go in there, and the way I was explained though is they don't have like a case. They just put like pictures up on the wall of the cakes with a number next to it. Kind of like t-shirts when you go like, I'll have number 16. Yeah. So you go there and you go, I want 11, 12, 42, 66. And then
they did that with video games for a long time, didn't they? Because they were like, you know what? We're sick of this. True. We don't want anybody thieving. So you're going to put them behind a glass case, or we're going to print them out on a card and file them behind each other. And you just got to like take the card and go show it to somebody who's got a key.
When did Wisconsin change that?
Oh, it's got to be late 90s, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was like mid 90s, I think, because that's when we built our second, or purchased our second store, and then that was more of a retail store kind of set up for that way.
Do you find that migration from traditional retail to wholesale kind of a natural progression?
Yes and no. I mean, there's people that don't want wholesale in a way. And then what I say is like, they want to come in, buy one of this, one of that, their budget's, X amount of dollars, and that's what they want. You're seeing a lot more where guys and gals are buying bigger stuff for their shows. They want to get more for their money. So you see it somewhere, but I think a lot of times what turns people off is when you say, hey, if you're going to buy a case, you're buying 12 of this unit. And they're like, I don't want 12 of that unit. And that's like, well, that's what you're doing. You know, it's a different animal. And, you know, there's going to be the retail people that, hey, it's retail. They come in the store, they buy once a year for their backyard. And then, you know, there's guys that get bigger and go, well, I could make my show from this to this. And I mean, we see that all the time when people, especially on like Facebook and everything, with people posting their shows or saying, hey, I'm looking into getting this. I mean, it's the biggest question. Where do I get this? How do I do this? How do I get bigger? How do I find, you know, editing software? You know, you see that progression through people, but it also takes money.
Yeah.
How many of your retail customers have made that switch to wholesale?
Very little.
Really?
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have to look at our where we're at. We are close to a major metropolitan city, and you're getting people, like I said, it's the 4th of July, come over for the one night. That's it. They're happy with that. You know, they don't have more money to spend, or they don't want that option of, hey, I got to get 12 of this, or they are happy. I mean, they come into our stores and are happy with, you know, the product, the pricing. I mean, we try to be the fairest on pricing. So they're like, hey, I'm getting a good deal already. Yeah, I could get a better deal, but you know, then I have to do that, spend this, or I have to have this, and I don't have the storage, or I don't have the space. And
yeah. And I mean, it has to take a certain caliber of crazy to get
it's
the wholesale.
Throw it back on you guys. I mean, how did you guys get into wholesale? I mean, there was a point you know, probably buying retail at one time, and then
yeah, and I was like, you know what, there's got to be a cheaper way to do this. I'm walking out with $3,000 worth of stuff. Then I walk out of $3,000 wholesale. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be here all night.
I think when you're buying retail, it eventually kind of dawns on you. You're like, you know, this is a grand expense every single year for the most part. And that's, you know, traditionally when you're just doing it once a year. At that point, and you're like, okay, well, if I want to make this bigger and I want to do something cooler, and you're trying to get really matchy at different points on the field, like wholesale, you know, what you mentioned earlier about it, there being multiple cakes and cases and things like that, it makes sense to go toward something like that, especially when you find the pirate musical and you start getting into the pirate musical.
Yeah, for sure.
In your retail, where do you see the average age customer?
Oh, it's the average age, I would say, is 35 to 50. I would say is a good average age. You are starting to see a lot more younger demographic start to do fireworks, I think, than I've seen in the past. But I also contribute that to the YouTube and, you know, things like that. Yeah. I think, and sometimes that's a positive thing, and sometimes it's a negative thing. And, you know what some of these kids are doing at 18. You know, we were all 18 at one time doing, you know, so it's kind of like you try to say, hey, do it safely. But I mean, we all know what's happening, but you just kind of say, hey, thank you. And, you know, please don't do anything stupid with them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, when 4 18-year-olds walk out with like 30 packs of Roman candles, you're like, oh, I know what you're doing.
Exactly.
As far as things to shoot each other with, I suppose there's worse.
But did you die?
Yeah, 7-ounce rocket doesn't feel good when it hits you.
7-ounce rockets. Yeah. Did I hear that correctly? 3 retail locations?
We have 2 now. Yep. We had one that's, we had 2 in the same city, basically a mile apart from each other. And the one was our first store. It was a smaller store because back in the 80s, you didn't have to have a big giant store because people could come in and they had to look in a case. They couldn't walk around where you had to fill in 100 people. And the industry has changed. I mean, firework buying in the 80s and early 90s, it wasn't you didn't see as many people coming in, you know, as going with that. And so when we did our other store down the road, it's closer actually to Minnesota. We kept both of them open, but as the times has gone on, and I think more of the mentality of when you walk into a store, you want a nice, big, bright, clean store. Mm. And if you went down to our other one, you're looking and going, okay, this is an older building, not as big. And, you know, some people like that feel, that mom and pop store of like, oh, this is a small location. But with the age it is now, everybody has smartphones and they want to be able to scan. They want as much product as they can. They want TVs on the wall. They want air conditioning when it's 90 degrees out. So, it made more sense that way. And then as that our second building, it's had many configurations because it started off as a small storefront. And then as the years have gone by, it slowly has expanded from a small storefront to making the whole building store to adding on a warehouse to it. So it's evolved. It's just more people are like, hey, we're not getting down to that third store because you're here and you're a first stop and we're going to go back to Minnesota, or, we're going on to our cabin and we're happy with what we got here.
Speaking to evolution, how much do you think the online sale of fireworks has kind of changed the game?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I remember when I got, out to college, started working, fireworks server. It was, I remember the days of the old Pyro Universe forum. And, you get on there and, they'd have group buys and people would ask this question and you would see how that forum started igniting of more and more people get involved in wanting to buy online. Hey, how do I find you? I don't need to go down the road to a local guy. I can find different products, and have it shipped from Wisconsin or, Missouri. I think it definitely started that trend. And then as the internet got more and more reliable, usable, people started having better websites and it's like, hey, I can find you. I can sign up for this, or I can become a wholesale customer. And, that's where you see it grow. Cause you go from being, I'll supply some people locally, some local customers, some different tents and stores in Wisconsin to, hey, now you're getting customers from all around the country because they can find you online.
That had to have made your life a lot easier, is because I know when I was part of group buys, right? I mean, it had to have gotten to a point where you were dealing with so many customers as it were, but like handling all these group buys too, and, working one-on-one with all these people to manage the group buys. Like you still do that and you're still great at it, but I can imagine like the implementation of an online system where it's kind of self-serve, right? I mean, the old school way of fireworks, I think everybody's just so hard coded into thinking, okay, there's a price list and I wonder if we're going to get a break or something like that. But with the website, and that's something that I had down here I wanted to talk about was the new website. But I mean, like you've got all of that back end stuff probably baked in, right? Yeah, like different tier pricing and just anything that's applicable to a particular customer group. You're able to manage that and make the customer feel like, hey, you can essentially order all of your stuff here and I'm still facilitating it, even though we're not necessarily communicating directly or, I'm holding your hand through the process kind of thing. Yeah.
It's definitely, it is just even for us. I look at our website in the last 3 years. Our other site was when we originally had, you could log on, you could get a price list to download and you could see some pictures, but it wasn't very customer interactive. And we knew that we needed to change that. So our first site we relaunched here, before this one, gave that option where you could log on your phone, scroll through items, put them in a cart, send the cart in, and bam, I have your order. It wasn't a send me an email and say, hey, I need a price list. Okay. So I send you a price list back and then they go through and ask and they get a little bit more on time, like basis of this is actually in stock or not in stock. Cause you can send a price list to anybody and we all know in this industry, 2 days later, you could be like, oh, I want this item. It's gone because people are buying it and you'll never know it's gone because your price list isn't updated. So it definitely makes it a lot easier on my end. And it helps that I don't have to, like you said, walk through as much with people. I love helping people. When I get emails and people are like, hey, I got questions, this and that. And they always say, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you out. I'm here to give you the awesome Marcus customer service. Even if it's at 10 o'clock at night, people are like, I can't believe you answer your emails back. And I'm like, well, you emailed me at 10 o'clock at night. So I know you're awake. If I'm awake, I'm going to, email you back. It's kind of one of those things like, it might not be a full email, but it might be like, hey, let me look into this or this is what you want to look for. And in the morning, you might get a more detailed email because I'm sitting at my computer at my office going, okay, now I'm going to respond with more details than what I could do on my phone. But it's also, I don't do very well typing on my phone for responding to emails. So it's like, I'll give you a quick response so that at least, hey, I'm engaging you, but know I'm there. But it's like, most questions are simple, yes or no, or look here, or it's not going to be in, or we're 2 weeks out from that item. It's a simple question, but it builds that relationship. Like I look at you guys, like how many times I've talked to you guys. I think it's the communication part of talking with the people you're working with and giving them that support and answering those questions where it's like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not the biggest company in the world. I mean, Fireworks Forever is up in Wisconsin. I mean, there's bigger companies in Wisconsin than we are, but I will for sure make sure that every customer is happy because we give you awesome customer service. Hopefully we give you the best product that we can. I mean, we can't always guarantee product being great. We all know issues with manufacturing, but it's like, we're here for you and we want to make sure you're happy with the experience because we aren't the big company. We're not out there marketing. I mean, we don't market ourselves. We don't go out and push things. I mean, I hardly ever push our company on, social media, once in a while I'll do, but I kind of tend to say, hey, enough people will promote us through that themselves that I'd rather have like somebody recommend me than me pushing. I do not want to be pushing. And for example, I had a customer tonight call me, and he was giving me some suggestions for a website. And I said, hey, I love those ideas, but to me, that makes me think then I'm going to be pushy on customers. Like if I can see what's in your cart or what's in your wish list, and I'm like, well, why aren't you ordering, Bo? I see your cart has this many items. And it's been sitting there for 3 weeks. I kind of feel like I'm pushing you, and that's not me. I'd rather have you go, I'm going to order because I enjoy ordering, not pushy and this. And, I think we've grown from that because other companies would make those calls to people and say, hey, we haven't gotten an order from you, this or that. And it's like, we don't need to push you. Like if you want to order from us, great. If you enjoy somebody else or want to go somewhere else, even better. That's your choice. I'm here to help, but I'm not going to push you and say, you got to buy from Fireworks Forever. And it's the same thing with customers is that, we always tell people we'd like to be your one-stop shop, but we can't. There is so many other brands out there that have some amazing items. It's like, if we get, you buy some stuff from us and some stuff from somebody else, hey, good for you. I'm glad because like I said, there's some items I love from other companies. We just don't import that product. And it's like, go ahead, get to what's best for you and what's the best product.
Did you hear that, AJ? Marcus is okay with me buying from other people too.
He said it. Wow. And it's recorded. No, man, I have had nothing but good purchasing experiences from you. And to be quite honest, like it was hard for me initially in every other facet of life. Give me a website to order on. And I don't want to say I disconnect from the personable interaction, but like in Fireworks, I always felt like that was kind of a linchpin. I felt like the industry either desired that or needed it, or it was something that just had to take place. Like you always had to feel like you had a guy, like you were getting a deal and all this other kind of stuff. That's why it was hard for me 2 or 3 years ago when the website first became a thing to disassociate from sending you 15 emails over the course of 3 weeks saying, hey, remember that thing that I asked you about 2 days ago? Do you still have that in stock? And like just rinse, wash, and repeat that 4 times because like I can't imagine the amount of that same email that he has to respond to. Yep. Still got it.
Yeah. And like I said, like emails are great. Phone calls. I mean, there's a lot of customers I will sit on the phone with and talk for an hour. Sorry. And not include you, AJ. But, 2 hours. It's just kind of one of those things like,
wow. I feel the love in this room.
So I think that's the biggest thing. You want that personal thing with the emails are nice, but it's also, there's a lot of people now that if you don't have an up-to-date website or you don't have this easy feature, they're like, well, I'm moving on because I want to be on my phone. I want to sit on my couch at 9:00 at night and order fireworks. I don't want to email this person. I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to wait for responses. And I think that's what before our website and, middle, 2010s, that's what I was emailing all the time. Like, hey, I'm going to email this person back because they're asking me a question at this time. And it's like, well, I'm going to answer them back because if I wait till the morning to email them, so I get in at 8:00 and they're on, say, on the West Coast, I might not get a response till 7:00 the next night. Well, you go 24 hours, it's like a roundabout of trying to get responses back. So,
yeah. Well, it's got to be different too. I mean, with you selling as many consumer fireworks as you do and kind of appealing to that person, like, buying fireworks, I'm sure on the wholesale front, you sell to retailers and folks that actually do either make a living or they make something selling fireworks at tents or what have you. But, you're marketing to guys like me who during the day are typically off, working and stuff like that. And, once like work is done, that's when it's time to kind of dive into the hobby stuff. And
be honest,
sure,
bro. How many fireworks have you bought while sitting on the porcelain throne?
From the porcelain
that's
throne.
actually, I'm not laughing because it's true. A lot. Going to the website and just watching videos and stuff. You do that for hours. I don't even want to fathom how many hours of that are done sitting on the toilet.
The convenience is real.
Definitely a nice feature you have on there now where when you don't have to click on the item to see the video, you can just click on it right there.
Yep. And that's the nice part is that our first, more interactive site, we listened to what people said. Hey, we want this. We want to be able to, in our cart, we want to be able to play the video of it just in case I want to, watch it one more time and go, do I want this item? Do this make sense? And so we listen to our customers and we try to build our website so that what you want, it makes it more functional because you are the customer. We might suggest something, but it's like if people are saying, hey, it'd be nice to have this, have that. Well, you're the people buying the fireworks. We're just here selling them.
Another beautiful part is the extensive knowledge that you have of all the product that you carry. Like if you're out of something, you're like, hey, I don't have this, but I have this. And you name the part number, you know what it does. You can tell you what all the colors are. Like that's huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that definitely helps when being a part of ordering everything. I've seen all the videos and I'm seeing this and going, oh, this is that. And it just gets ingrained in my memory. I have a totally different memory on when it comes to fireworks stuff. It's like, oh, it was this one, it was that. And they're like, how do you remember that? I'm like, when you watch as many videos I have.
Alone. I don't know how you know all the part numbers that you have in your head. I could probably name off cakes right now and you could give me the part numbers. I guarantee it. It'd be like a video game or a game show.
That's a great idea. We should pull in a bunch of wholesalers and we have a game show.
Who has the best knowledge? I don't know if everybody's got notes.
It's a great way to get into trouble.
Bing. Answer. Oh my God, that'd be great, actually. You down for this, Marcus?
Oh, man.
Look at that buzzing.
Yeah, we're going to make all of our sponsorship dollars on the Patreon. Yeah, I agree with AJ, man. It's really cool. I always felt like I could send you on those unfortunate moments when you were out of something that I needed for the show or wanted. I could send you a note and say, hey, you got anything like this? And almost always got a response with something that you had in stock that was really close or a usable substitute.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the nice part about, fireworks. There's always items that are close, to effect or even shot pattern. Most people, it's like, I need a shot pattern that does this. I don't care what it does. It's just, I need that, IVW kind of effect, or I need it to be shooting 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and 1 in the there's so many different shot patterns. It's like, oh, I have 3 cakes like this. This one does this effect. This one has some color, or this one strobing, or this one's crackle. And it's like, here's what you can decide and help with the show.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing you're really good about is being proactive about it too. Let's say you order something and it didn't make it quite as far as it was supposed to in a timely manner. You're reaching out to me and saying, hey man, I didn't get this in, but I've got this. Would that work for you? You're not just waiting until the last minute and saying, hey, here's your order. I'm missing this, this, and this. You're like, hey, do you want me to substitute anything? As soon as you find out. So you've always done a great job with that too.
Yeah. I mean, because like I said, you guys are the customers. And to me, it's like, I want you to know, hey, this is not coming. Because a lot of guys are dependent on that stuff for a show, or they got it scripted. And it's like, hey, you're counting on this and this might alter your show a little bit. So it's like, I got to tell you sooner or later, because you can go, all right, I can go back and change my script, or I can and substitute with an item. I don't want it to be, oh, your order's ready to go. And, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get this and this. And you're like, oh, but I need this for this part of my Pyro musical, or I need those comments for a runner, or I'm trying to do, a different kind of color combination. And now I don't have that. And it's going to change my show immensely, where it's like, that's not what I wanted, and you didn't tell me until the end. And now I'm scrambling to find something.
So what's popular, given what we just mentioned about the market? Well, what are you seeing? Because I know things kind of have changed. Like there's been a pretty cool evolution in effects over the last 4 or 5 years, even in consumer stuff.
Yeah, consumer and pro line. I was going to say, I thought you were going pro line. Sorry.
No. Like it's across the board. Like, I mean, look at chasing comments. That's kind of that's an effect. It's a very, very pretty effect, but it's one that when you see, it's like, okay, that's completely unique and really different. So like, what's popular and what do you think is driving the change?
I mean, for popularity, everybody, still is on the Nishiki Willow effect. I think you still see a lot of people that want that. But now I think you're seeing a lot more of, they want to see something with like tails or trillions. I mean, back, I remember a lot of cakes didn't have, but now you see a lot more cakes with trillion tails to something, or that hollowing effect gets, they want more in-depth things to it, where it's not just, shoots 25 shots and it's up and a break. It's got tails to it. I think what we're seeing is trying to mix consumer fireworks with show fireworks in a way that it's like, this could be used as a show, but it also will please the masses of regular retail customers. Your retail customers want as much going on in the sky. They don't care if it's a solid red cake or a solid blue cake. They want action. And I think they're seeing like, hey, we can make an action cake, but man, I can make it also as I can make this a slice cake, make it into rows, like, make it more multifunctional than just, oh, I like the cake and it goes. I can slice it up, or, I remember like back in the day before chasing comments, there's Sky Comet from Pyro Planet. And, that cake was, to me, doing shows was amazing because you had those quiet moments in a sun. And it's like, okay, I can do some falling leaves. But it's like, I need something that goes something different. Wow. And it's like, when that cake came out, it was amazing. And I look back to, before that came out, Dominator did a show over in China. Dominator was the first one to introduce those Sky Comets, technically. And they did a massive show. Ed flew over there and scripted this massive show for one of the festivals over there. And I remember seeing those and going, wow, that's cool. But at that time, that was, that's 1-3 stuff. I was like, man, that's such a cool effect to get out of something that you could use in a quiet section. And then Pyro Planet came out with that Sky Comet cake. And that was one of their first cakes they ever had when they came a brand. And I was like, wow, that's amazing cake. Looking at it, I'm going, yes, the last 4 shots, it was like, yep, I understand why you did the brocades at the end, because you're trying to market it as a retail cake. So it's not all boring. But man, when I'm looking at it going, all right, well, that's 12 shots I can use for color. It has decent timing in it. And I can do that. And then I can glop off the last 4 rows and shoot that, in a section where it's like, I need just a volley of 4 shots, and I have 6 Sky Comet cakes across the field, and I can use that this time perfectly because it's an instant shot, and it made it such a unique cake to have. And then that's with us. Like when the Chasing Comets, I was not getting Pyro Planet anymore. And I know Pyro Planet had some issues with Sky Comet one year with it, where it really wasn't a Sky Comet. It was like, I really want that effect, because me as doing shows, I enjoy it, and if I enjoy it, and I think a lot of people got turned on to that, we're like, that's a cool little section you can do. And so I'm like, how can we get a cake? And it's like, I want a cake that's all 16 shots of that. I mean, so that nobody has to modify it and take out that last row. I can do 16 shots. Or I can tear the whole, every 16 tube, all the tubes apart and shoot one at a time, like almost like a 30 millimeter Comet. But it just gave more options. And I was so happy when somebody was like, we can make this. We stumbled upon the person making it because of that person used to work for Pyroplanet. Yeah. And, it was an easy one. I mean, when they're telling you, the technicians over there say, hey, this is a very boring cake. And I'm like, I understand, but it's not for you as a technician. It's for me, the customer, and my customers. So yeah, you may think it's boring, but people are going to buy it. And people did. I mean, we got in last year, and I wish I would have been able to get everything I had ordered of it, because people wanted it, and they weren't buying just one or two cases. They were buying a lot. And I'm like, man, this thing's moving. And I felt kind of like, wow, I'm glad I did this, because there was a market for it.
It's exciting too, because I can imagine the first time that you saw some of those effects when Lace came out and the Shikis, like you see these effects, that more traditional effects that you would see in really big shells. I can't imagine what it's like creating compositions that roll onto stars as tiny as the stars that go into these shells and these inserts, and be able to perform to a level that translates like, wow, like that's got the wow factor to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the greatest thing. I mean, you see it every year, like these new cakes that come out or new effects. And it's like, wow, that they did it right. And it's like, that's the best thing, is that we're in the industry, it's evolving. I mean, we're not red, green, crackle anymore. I mean, it's like you said, the colors, it's the, getting a cake that has cyan in it, and, some purples, and, these colors just stand out so much brighter. And it's like, that's what I want. I want something that's colorful, not red, green, crackle, or all crackle. I mean, and it helps. I think we as industry have pushed for that. We're not just like, hey, we need items for our stores. I want items, but I don't want items that stand out where people go, wow, that cake stood out because it did this, or it had this effect. It just stands out to them more. And we want that, because we don't want to be a boring, industry. We want to keep innovating. And there's so many people going, hey, try this effect. And like you said, Bo, with the 1.3 stuff, that you saw in shells coming over to 1.4. I mean, yes, it may not look as beautiful as in a 1.3 shell or a 1.3 cake, but, it's like, wow, that I never thought you could do that effect in a cake. And now you can.
In a consumer cake.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes those effects you're like, wow, like a Farfalla, that to me is an amazing effect. Not everybody's going to enjoy it, but it's like to see that in a 1.4 cake, it's like, that's amazing. You don't see many cakes with that anymore, because it is an expensive cake. And most retail guys are like, oh, what does it do? Oh, it does 10 shots of this. It's like, okay, if you mix it in with a cake that does something else, it's like, it fits in. But then on the show side, you're like, oh, that cake, it's got 4 shots out of this, and then the rest are unusable. And you're like, okay, I pass on that for my show.
Yeah. Having that many effects, though, it's more tools for the toolbox.
Yep.
Having guys like you and, importers in general that have extensive effect knowledge, and, you shoot shows, you design shows. So you understand when you see cakes like that, you're like, okay, I understand what the consumer market wants, but I also understand what the hardcore show designer wants and the hobbyist wants. And albeit probably a small piece of the overall pie. I don't like to speak for a lot of people, but I think we all kind of look to you guys for that innovation. And just, the fact that you're constantly, it seems like the last few years, things have been re-innovated, and it's been such a shot in the arm to have all of these different lines and all of these different cakes and all of these different effects that kind of provide you with different tools to take your shows and do something kind of different. You can break up. It's not just like traditional horsetails or traditional falling leaves. Like, you always had the same go-to effects for slow segments, or you always had the same go-to effects for finale segments and things like that. Now I feel like you can really break things up and change the way that all of your vertical spectrums look just with what's available.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
If you look at his line too, like the Epic line, I think most of the ones that you picked for that, right, it's because you looked at it and was like, all right, I like this cake because it's dual purpose completely, or it has a show purpose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we're looking, it's you look at it like, okay, can I use this in a show? Yes. But can I also sell it to the normal retail customer off the shelf? Yes. And there are some Epic stuff that is, more geared towards show stuff where it's like, yep, it can be in our stores and it's not, it's not going to be the hot seller but it's like people like it. It's just, I'm looking at both sides going, okay, there's industry, you got to cater to both. And yes, like you said, Bo, it maybe not be a big percentage, but the hobbyists bring the ideas. I couldn't tell you how many people over the years have brought me ideas for things or said, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or, this brand has this cake. And it's like, okay, I don't import, this brand, but man, that's a really good cake. Okay. I want something like that. Or how can I get it? I look at an example of, it's not more of a show cake, but like the snow cone fountain. I mean, when Winda came out with that, I mean, everybody was raving. Everybody had to have snow cone. Everybody had snow cone. Who's got this snow cone from Winda? And every customer of ours that was a reseller was like, we need a snow cone. Why don't, get it from Winda? And it's like, okay, well, when I was able to go, hey, I can make the copy of it basically and, call it waffle cone just to play off the ice cream thing and say, hey, we can have something for you that, is the same thing at a better price, more per case, but for the person that's selling it, they're going, okay, I get it for a better price. Yes, it doesn't say snow cone on it. My customers might not know from the year before. They're like, hey, I want that snow cone. You're like, well, here's waffle cone. I mean, it looks exactly the same, just with a waffle cone, and people are happy. It's things like that you have to look at is what are people bringing in, and there's a lot of hobbyists that I've known forever that have suggested, you need to have this, or why doesn't this company's slices have 3 ports? We need to have 3 ports on these slices. And, that's, if I think of it a little differently because you're doing shows, but most companies are like, oh, that's a slice. Why do we have to have 3 ports? And I'm going, well, my customers go, the 3 ports makes that slice actually 4 slices. And that makes more value for me and more value for the customer in a way where now that slice is just an instant slice. It can be a sweep, it can be a curtain, it can be instant, things like that. And it's just those little innovations. And I tell people that are going to listen to this, I mean, everybody has ideas. Reach out to whoever you're buying from. And I mean, don't push it, but just give suggestions. Like, that's what we're looking for. Like, we need to hear from everybody out in the community of what you're looking for in a firework or what effects, because we bring it back, go, okay, that's a really cool effect. We bring it back to the companies and say, hey, have you ever thought of making a cake like this? Or do you have something in the works? And it materialized like, hey, I told Marcus I'm looking for this. And now I can get this item from him. Or I've been telling, whoever else I'm buying from, and now this company that they order from has it. And because they gave the input.
Across the board, it winds up making the market better. All it takes is one manufacturer to go, you know what? Okay, let's try to do something different. Let's try a different combination of effects and, maybe compositions, and see if we can come up with another cool effect that's going to change things and be really popular. Like when lace came out, how popular was lace when that first popped? I thought that was
my gosh,
so pretty, man.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I remember being in the fireworks for so long. I remember back in the day, there was cakes from, it was Vulcan back in the day before they went Shogun that had lace effect. And you was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It was kind of a 1-3 effect. And it was always in a 200 gram cake. And this was early 2000s. And it kind of went away because at that time it was like, I just want crackle. I want red, green. I want a lot going on. And then when it brought back, it was like, okay, that's such a cool effect. And, I think it helped when it got people were pushing it. Like, you started seeing not just one brand having it. It was a ton of brands. And then it was like, everything has lace, red lace. And then it went to gold lace, and that's the one thing with this industry is like, we get on kicks where, for a while there, it was, a strobe break. Oh, that's amazing. Who's got the best strobe breaks? And then it was who's got the best nishiki breaks. And then it was who's got the best lace effect. And honestly, I'm excited to see what's the next effect that everybody's going to have. Where one company will come out with something, and they always do. There's always this one company. It's always a year ahead. They'll have an item and everybody's like, whoa, that was so cool. And it's like, I got to have that, and everybody jumps that bandwagon. And, you give credit to that company because they created that effect in a cake or, a single shot. And it's like, everybody else is going to copy me now, and it is what it is. It's going to happen, but it's like, you came out with it first. Give them credit that, they brought it to the market for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not Crackle again, though.
Come on, AJ. Crackle's the best,
Now we call it popcorn.
I got to think about Crackle the other day. You can still, I still think you could do some really cool finale work with Crackle. I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said that a year ago, I don't think, or 2 years ago, but it's true. Like I can't remember whose show I watched here recently. I think it's got its place, just like anything else. You can find a billion different effects to kind of interlace and interweave into a pirate musical to tell a story. And while I know it's not popular with a lot of designers, because I think the overtone is it's going to step on my music and I want people to hear the music. But, in reality, I think a lot of times the music is going to be lost to a degree, almost always.
I love the instant crackle for the end.
Yeah. I do too. Like that, just that one little volley and then you get like a field wide pop on it.
Yeah. I think also too, it depends on how in the different types of crackle. I mean, you have that intense crackle, you have the lighter crackle. I mean, I think you can do different things. I mean, we all are not big fans of crackle, but you can definitely do different things to, like, okay, if I have a lighter crackle, it's like, okay, that just fits perfectly. Or like Jamie just said, instant crackle. It's like, it just hits you. It's like, whoa, it's like, bam, all this crackle in there, it's done.
I was more talking like in consumer cakes where, like your first two rows have color and then it's always color with crackle.
Yep.
They would just leave it colored. I still think it would be, but again, I get it because it's a retail thing,
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the biggest thing.
Can you have a consumer one and then a club one or a hobbyist one? There you go. That'd be your epic one.
I mean,
have one that's going to sell really well, and then have some, just make sure you get a big enough warehouse so you can keep all the spares. You can have leftover.
He never sold Sky. He never sold. He never sold Chasing Comets in retail, and all those sold out in a week. 2 weeks.
Yeah. But that's the thing. People were looking for that effect. That makes a difference when you bring something back that's the whole cake. And, it comes down to marketing. I mean, I told you, AJ, about it. I mean, how quickly and instantly, and I told other people that I know there's show designers and do a lot of shows like, hey, I'm going to have this cake. What do you think? Well, and it's like, I got their attention and they're like, all get excited. And I'm like, okay, well, that's my part of the job, selling the stuff and getting people excited. So it's like, well, I'm going to tell people sooner than everybody else is going to know, because it's an amazing effect. And I want people to be able to get that item for their shows if they want it. I don't want it to be
it's not
sitting
heavy.
there.
You can carry 2 or 3 cases at a time.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Bring your wife. Can carry 4 cases.
I think the 4 of us could lift a pallet of it. Surprised you haven't made a cake then. Or actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. Have you made your own cake? Like, have you designed a cake yourself?
Not in a fullest. I've taken parts of things. I would say more of I've seen something and going, okay, we want this, we want that. Or I've seen like,
Dear China, I'm inspired by this.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's that, like, for it. And I think it's more of I'm not looking for like, hey, I'm designing effects. It's more like, hey, I want a cake that does this. And, you tell them, hey, I want a cake that has this, or I want a cake that's, 36 shots. That's a faster pace, and this is the effect I want. I do more of that than saying, well, let's make a new effect, because I'll be honest, I'm not a very chemical kind of person, like what it all goes into. You know, there's a lot of guys in this industry, even over here. It's like, oh, you need this and this and this to make this effect. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but I couldn't make that.
Yeah, bro, just make it blue.
Yep,
just make it blue.
Know, so
violet.
Make it blue.
I got a cake name for you, and you can design it, Marcus.
Okay.
Oh boy,
we're going to call it Plata Tantrum.
What does that fucking mean?
You should have a lot of red and green in it.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe some crackle.
And then we need one with Jamie with a bunch of bling on it. It says Jamie money.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. What's Bose?
No.
Bunch. I got it. Electronics all around him with a guitar in his hand.
There you go.
And we'll call it
Never Gonna Sell.
We'll
call it Never Gonna Sell.
Electric.
It's electric.
All electric.
It's Bo-electric.
It's electric.
It's Bo-electric. Bo, yeah.
How long is it?
There it is.
It's Bo-electric.
Yeah.
Bo, yeah. See, that I could get behind.
I branded that.
I've
seen that meme in other places. And I'm like, hey, I made that.
Your kid's a chip off the old block. I don't think anything's stuck like that in years.
Oh, yeah, he gets excited when he gets to see you.
That's Bo this. That's Bo that. It's like my name is basically an adjective now.
It's a verb. It's an adjective.
Yeah, right. It's everything you want it to be.
There could be so much to go with that, but I'm gonna go.
How long does that, Marcus? How long does that process take? I mean, at the end of one given season, when you sit down with the rest of the brain trust, and you guys are doing a company roundtable, and you're like, all right, we analyzed sales from this past year, and these were hot sellers for consumers. This batch of stuff was hot sellers in the hobbyist market. How do you take all that information and develop a plan for, okay, now we're going to try to innovate. So we got X amount of time to come up with something, take it to China, and try to determine if it's something that's feasible.
Oh, getting pre-production videos back doesn't take very long. I mean, especially if you can get it to them over when they're downtime. Especially when you can say, hey, they can go to a factory and have a tech build something, take a video. It doesn't take very long to do. I mean, yeah, you're taking a grain of salt because it's tech built, but at least you can get an idea. But with this industry, I feel like it can be 2 years out.
Really?
With things, especially the way things are going, is you have to be thinking farther ahead on things. I mean, you can see the new cakes, they come out, every company comes out with the new cakes, July 1st, here's our new catalog, here's the new items. It's like, okay. But if you want to do something for yourself, you got to be planning not in July. You got to be thinking about that cake in the year before in October, going, okay, this is what I want, to get some designs, and then really hammer it down so that you can give it to them so that they have time to make it. Because over there, with the way the domestic market's going, it's not the turnaround like it used to be. It's you're fighting for spot, and to them, they're going, okay, well, we're making 10,000 cases of this item, and with different labels on it compared to whatever you're ordering. It's like, yeah, we'll get to it. You're going to get pushed to the back. So it's like, you have to plan for that, going, if I want this, I need to get ahead of it before, a plan, say, hey, I want it in 2026. I mean, I can see it now. I mean, 2026 comes around. I mean, how many red, white, and blue cakes are we going to see come out
God.
next year? I mean, it's going to be, and I'm hoping to see some innovation, like with different cakes, like something different, and doing red, white, and blue, and how they're using it. I mean, you can have your red, white, blue break, but what can we do with that red, white, blue to stand out? I mean, and not just for 2026, but make it so that, well, that was an amazing cake for 2026 to celebrate America, but it's also, that was an amazing cake. I can keep selling it for 5-6 more years. No problem.
Yeah. The red, white, and blue stuff has to always be a big seller, I would think.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it has its ups and downs. I mean, you do definitely have to, people do definitely want something red, white, and blue, but it's not like I need to have, especially on the retail in stores, I don't have to have 20 different red, white, blue cakes. It's like have a 200 gram, have a 500 gram that's got in it, and then have a shell kit that's got some red shell, red, white, blue effects in it kind of thing. You don't need to have a ton of stuff. I mean, right now, 2026, I think is going to be different because we're going to market to, hey, the American people, we're celebrating 250 years of being a part of this great country. And, what better than, a patriotic color cake? So it's like, hey, if you had, say, 7,500 grams on your shelf, I could see people having 10 to 15% of those cakes be red, white, blue cakes just because of that year.
Right.
I wonder how many finales you're going to see that year in red, white, and blue. No matter what the song is, even if it's not a patriotic song.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, everybody's going to do it. I mean, why wouldn't you? But it's going to be, how do you do that red, white, and blue? I mean, you're going to know what people does, but somebody out there that we know that we've seen a show is going to come up with something, and we're going to be like, all of us are just going to have our mouths on the ground going, holy crap, dude, that was amazing. And I might even be at like, say, a Skywars. It's going to be somebody doing it in their backyard. And we're all like, wow, like just on the scale of the size of your show, like, wow, like, dude, stand up and take a bow. That was amazing. We're going to see it. I could see Skywars, big events like that, Pyro Jam, people doing things. But to me, it's that guy that doesn't get the opportunity to do those shows that you're like, dude, you should be doing those shows. And I understand why you don't, because, AJ, you can test this. It's a lot of work, and people don't have the time or enough friends to borrow modules, and friends even help set up. But, that guy in the backyard is going to be, everybody's going to be like, damn, dude, that was an amazing red, white, and blue. That changed my mind on that effect at the end, and then everybody's going to want to start doing something. It's just like the American flag. I've seen it already this year is, when Dominator did that at PGI and then Raccoon did it at Skywars, I mean, the first thing everybody asked me about right after was, I need red, white, and blue meteors. I want to do the American flag. And, and it takes, to set pen aside, it takes so many cases to do that flag. I mean, it's not like you can just throw up, you got to throw up 3 to 4 cases of each color just to make that flag. And it's like somebody did it and everybody wants to do it now. It's like following the fad. Like, wow, they did this. And
I'm going to do the Russian flag just because
there you go. Different. And I think people learned, I look at PGI, Mick that shot that for Dominator, when I was there, bringing him this product for that, and sitting out in I was sitting out in the field with Ed that night on Sunday night, and like watching things and how the depth of that was at Oshkosh this year. It was like, you got to tell Mick to put those the farthest back. Like, you need to have this thing so far back. And it was like with the Raccoon one at Skywars, I mean, it was so close to us spectators up front. I mean, I guarantee, I saw the pictures look great from back, but I was like, man, if I was this person shooting this, I would have asked to put this flag effect the farthest back I could on that field, just so that even the people in the back would look even better. It's like, get it farther back. And that's one of those things where, I don't need credit, but it was like when I'm sitting there watching fireworks that night with Ed, and I'm like, Ed, you're going to have to tell Mick to move this back. Like, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but the farther you get this back, it's going to look better, because he was going to have it closer to the crowd. And I think it works. It's, it's little things like that. Like, not everybody wants to hear opinions, because everybody, in this industry, we're all right. None of us are wrong. We can never say anything wrong about anything. And, so somebody telling me to do this, it's like, hey, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It's just like doing this for long enough. I mean, I would suggest pushing it back, and especially doing this product. Like, I learned with the pro stuff, going back, like I learned, under some great people, how to do shows in pro. Like before we even started importing Dominator Pro, I went and actually worked with Ed, Scott Flair, Tim Jameson, John Prella at NFA when they used to do their competitions. And I wanted to know, okay, we're getting into this new category of fireworks. And, I was so used to 1-3. I grew up doing a 1-3 show after the 4th of July for a family event, a massive one, working with the local club in Minnesota, doing things. And I was always 1-3. And I'm like, okay, what's this 1-4 stuff that's not a cake? And I went and I learned. I literally, there was weeks helping him set up these shows and going, okay, this is how you use it. This is what you do with it. And that got my wheels spinning going, man, well, this is what I want to do. I want to start doing shows, watching Ed and Tim, design those shows, and Mike Kroger, that's actually with Finale now, funny guy. If you can ever meet Mike Kroger from Finale, funniest guy you'll ever meet. And if you ever see him, if like for some reason, if you ever can get to like a convention where Finale's at and he's there, just go up to him and say, wax on and wax off. See what he says.
Should I step back a little bit before I say it?
No, it's a funny joke. It's basically we were winding up cables. But it's one of those late nights when you've done a show's over and you're tired, and it was just kind of a funny joke to keep us more motivated, like keep it lightheaded. But it was like, I watched that and I was like, wow, okay, this is what we can do with it. And I ran with that. I was like, hey, what else can we do? What else can we do with Pro? Like, it's not just comments and minds. It's like, okay, you have these slices. What can we evolve? Like, when Dominator added on more stuff to their Pro line, I remember seeing this list and like, I was like, I got to have all that. Like, yes, there's so many different slices now, but I want to have that because they don't have that.
And then what about this? You got that? You're going to make this?
Yep. And it was like, I wanted to carry all that stuff, and it grew. I mean, it helped us as a business grow, but it was like, I want to have this, or make suggestions like, hey, can we do this? Do that. Some of them came to fruition. Some of them, I look back and it was, there's a Sky Comic cake that I think RKM carries, a beautiful colored Sky Comic cake. And I was like, I remember looking at that back in November of 2014 on a video going, that thing is beautiful. How do we get that made? We need to have something like that because the colors were amazing on it. And, it never came through because at that time you couldn't do 1,000-gram Pro cakes, but it's those kind of things, seeing what you can do with this stuff and evolving. And, I learned, like, I think that's the biggest thing is like, I don't think we could have been where we're at as a company, and innovating is if I didn't do that, and thankfully Ed let me come on. I mean, I was this, what was I, 29, 20, I don't even know how, 14 years ago. So, I was this 25-year-old kid, he didn't know who I was. I'd never done shows.
Greeny's got dreams,
and he took me on, and granted, I met some great people doing that. I mean, I met John Prella. I mean, if you can ever meet John Prella out from Montana, the greatest guy ever. I mean,
he's cool. I met him at Hale's event. He's a really, really nice guy.
Yeah, he'll do anything for you. I mean, the man, we talk all the time, and it's not, we don't talk for business. It's just like, hey, how's the family doing? And that's what I love about this business is it doesn't need to be about business with the people. You make the connection and say, hey, how's it going? Like, what's going on in life? Like, what you been up to, man? Like, I'm not calling you because anything for fireworks. I'm just calling to see how it's going.
Yeah.
So I think that's the greatest thing is making those connections. And it's not, I'm not calling to do fireworks, or I'm not your salesman. I'm Marcus. I'm also the bright person who buy fireworks, but I'm also the guy who goes, what can I do? What can I help you with? Can I help, anything like that? And it's like, you build those relationships with people, and those relationships just flourish to people knowing you. I mean, people know us because of that. Like, it's not because, like I said, we don't do the marketing. We don't do, get out and post everything. Like, hey, when people are like, where do you buy? It's like, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not saying, fireworks forever. I'm like, I want people to find me naturally and hear it from the grapevine. Like, hey, I met this guy, AJ, and he told me to come out, reach out to you because, you get great customer service and very happy. Or I was at a pyro event. I had a guy this spring that was like, yeah, I went to do my pro certification in Indiana. And all they talked about was this Marcus guy from Fireworks Forever up in the air. And they're like, you're the most popular guy. And it's like, well, I'm not really that popular. I think I do a good enough job to like make myself an industry. Like, hey, here I am.
A lasting impression. Would you say Marcus Forever?
I don't know about that. I mean, it does make for a great t-shirt though.
It does make for a great t-shirt.
It was our hit.
Yeah, it was a hit. Did anybody pay you for those?
Nah. No, gave those away.
Jamie you saw no kickbacks from those.
No,
but it's
$400 worth of shirts.
Who narked that out?
Every time I see
$400 worth of shirts, and I can't imagine how much time you spent weeding too. The vinyl.
Actually, that was was that the
Is that
Drunken
a Taylor job or a Stephanie job?
No, we had a bunch of bottles of wine and a couple friends and got them all done in like one night.
Wow. It's a party.
It's a good time.
I'm surprised I didn't make it on the Fireworks Forever website. That's a great photo.
Especially if you and your wife are both you're wearing yours and she's wearing hers.
How long have you been designing shows? Did that start when you started working with Ed and Tim and?
Well, yes and no. I mean, like I said, I have been doing before. We do a 1-3 show for family member that had been killed in Vietnam, and we did it at the family farm, and it was all 1-3. And I don't know if it was much more designing. It was more of a feel of, okay, this shell's going off. I'm listening to it. It's starting to kind of window down, and that's where I got my ambition of. I got to learn where I was sitting with a switch going next shell, and I could get it timing. And that was before pyro musicals were starting to be a thing. Like, I mean, people had music at some of these big displays, but it wasn't like shot to music. It was just music background. And then, I went to college and did college things. And
experimented.
Then it came back. Yep.
Whoa! Hey, man! You sucked him into that one. That's cold.
Go ahead.
That's where I learned to become an entrepreneur. There, Bo, in college.
One of the many things you learned at college.
Yep, exactly. But then getting back into it, it was more of watching other people do it and go, okay, we have a demo. Instead of just shooting a bunch of stuff, at the end of the demo, because most demos back in that day were shoot your items, and then shoot as many cakes as you could at the end for a finale. I was like, man, I want to do something to music. Like, I can do this, and it evolved because I was trying to do a pyro musical on a Pyromate Nighthawk, where you had to go in and turn the dial to set every little second. You couldn't upload anything. And then it turned into going, okay, doing some more shows for our local town here. I was like, okay, now we got finale. I can do this. And then it evolved to, hey, I got a Starfire system. Man, this is a game changer. I can do finale, upload it, and press play on the music and computer and let it go. It's like my creativity.
I forgot that you guys shot with Starfire.
Yep. And go through there. And then it just, as years goes on, and it was like, at Skywars, when I was attending, I always wanted to shoot a show there, but as a sponsor, they would let you sponsor do a show every year. And the one year, they had decided after that year that, hey, no more sponsor shows. We're not doing it. I don't know what happened, if the show wasn't as good as they thought, or, it rained 9 inches the night before. And I was like, I kind of got bummed out. And so I kind of kept pressing. I'm like, hey, we've been a sponsor for a couple of years. I really want to be able to take my talents and what I know, and I want to do it on a grander level, because we're shooting up here. I don't have the space. I don't have this 600-foot spread. I'm like, I want to do something for myself, and represent Fireworks Ever. Like, hey, hear what we can do. And I was able to do that there, and I thought it was like, wow, this is a awesome thing. And like, I have pictures of me, because I sat in the middle of, right in the front of the field with Tim Jamerson. Mm-hmm. And I just love that picture of me just standing there staring at it, like seeing my creation going, wow, this is cool. Yeah. Yes. I think in the 5 years it's in, I mean, God, the evaluation or evolution of people's shows down there have just gotten crazy. I mean, it was like, wow, like the different things, but I was like, man, this is where I like to be. And then COVID hit. And in this industry, COVID changed this industry for us, because it went from having time to, oh my gosh, like we have no time because it's busy. And then you're trying to get containers. And I haven't gotten back into that, designing shows. And I'm excited to get back into that. Again, I really want to do another show at Skywars, another unlimited kind of thing. But I also am at the point where I have such great people I know. I mean, I couldn't, I'd love to have done it this year, but I'm going, okay, who do I trust that I want to help? I'm going to be asking you, AJ, Jamie, Scott Smith, and all those guys to help me. And I'm going, I can't do that to you guys. You guys spent how many days and months designing shows last year. I'm like, you guys should be able to sit out there and enjoy it and sit back and just have fun, and I go, well, I just want to do that too, because I don't want to have to always be involved in everything. Like, I want to sit there and enjoy it just like a normal person, like not as Marcus from Fireworks Forever, as Marcus, the human being that goes, I love fireworks. And I just want to sit back and watch something cool and not worry about, who am I helping, or I have to do this.
Who am I letting down?
Yep, exactly.
What?
That's an AJ mentality.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you got to feel super involved every single year. I know you have been so instrumental. You've been a long time sponsor of that event, man. Back in 2020, like still to this day, I thank my lucky stars for you, because I wouldn't have been able to do this Heart of Fire without you. I just thought that was like the coolest gesture ever. And it was, such an honor to have worked with you on that. It was great.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing for me is I always love to support people to bring their dreams to life. Like I think something like that when you did that at Skywars Bow, or, I have there's a customer out in the New Hampshire Pyrotechnic group, and she had never done a pyro musical. And she said, hey, can you help me with this and that? And I was like, yep, I'm definitely going to help live your dream. Like, I'm going to make something come together for you because you want to do this. And I love doing that for people, like, on small scales and big scales, because that was me. I just am in the industry. If I was a person that was wanting to shoot shows and somebody could give me the tools and help me a little bit to bring something to life that I've been dreaming about, I mean, that's the way to go.
Mm. You're thankful.
Yep.
There's hobbies everywhere. People do it for fun all the live long day, but something like this, off the top of anybody's head, can anybody name another hobby that's this expensive for, I guess, I don't want to, dare I say, this caliber of person? I'm not rich. Like, I don't have all the money in the world. Yeah. I don't have the Jamie money.
Chad money, remember?
The Chad money.
It's Chad money now.
But it's crazy, because if the community didn't exist and you didn't exist and all of these enabling people, where would we be? I don't know that we would have grand events on the scale like Sky Wars. Yeah.
I mean, I look at Sky Wars from what it evolved from to now. I mean, when it started, it was a bunch of guys getting together in the fall to shoot some fireworks, to now where it's this grand stage and, 10,000 people watching. And, it takes a lot of effort. I mean, I give credit to Mo Pyro of setting this up and getting involved, but it also takes companies like me and American Wholesale Fireworks and Casabella and RKM. I mean, those shows don't happen without those support of those companies as well, because you need the product. You also need, people to donate for it, because the people shooting, like you said, Bo, we're not all rich. We don't have money just, laying around that I can go spend $10,000 on a show for an event because I just want to do it. And I think that's the best thing about Sky Wars, is that it gives the opportunity for some people to show their talents that they never could because of restrictions of budget. I mean, nobody has all that kind of money, or I shoot a show every year, but I only have 100 feet because it's in my parents' backyard in a field, or I can't afford to have, all those Cobra modules or Mongoose modules I have to borrow. It gives those guys the opportunity to show the artistic ability they have. And I think that's great. I think that's what's best thing about this industry, is that we give that ability to people to paint the sky basically with their imagination, and things like that. Sky Wars gives people, I mean, I'm going to ask you, AJ, I mean, do you ever think you would ever be able to do a show like that big by yourself without doing it at Sky Wars?
No, not possible.
Yeah. And so to me,
I can mortgage the house. Then yeah, maybe.
but the nice part is that they give those opportunities to people like you, Bo, for doing the Unlimited, or to you, AJ, or to Scott Smith, or, this year, the competitors, or Mike. And it's kind of like you get to do that. And I'm glad that they are able to allow people to do that. It's not just, we're going to hire companies and you do these shows. It's, hey, we're going to make this about pyros, put on this grand event, but we're also going to give the opportunity to somebody to do this show on a grand thing without really deterring them, because other than I need to find modules and I need to find help. Product can be given to you. It's the man hours and the equipment. Well, this community is so big that, hey, you put a post out, hey, I'm doing Skyward Show and I need 5 more Cobra modules. I mean, how quickly does somebody answer? I mean, I can be there. I can do this. Everybody's willing to lend a helping hand. And that, I think that's amazing. Or, I looked at it when we did our show in 2019. I didn't, Starfire, like I didn't have all the modules and I didn't have that many rails. And so I, borrowed them from a friend of ours up here in Wisconsin. And we were going through doing continuity. And at the last minute, I found out one of the rails was shot. And luckily Tim Jameson was there with his crew, doing a show. And I was like, Tim, I need a rail. Ran down to his truck and replaced it at, 7:00 at night, But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't know Tim. I mean, Tim probably would have done it because Tim's a great guy and said, yeah, I'll do it for anybody. But my relationship I built with Tim in 20, whatever year it was when I did the NFA that first year with him, it was like before Tim became Tim Jameson, of IPC. It was like, man, thank you for the help. And I asked Tim when we were doing a show, I said, hey, will you be here next to me when this goes off? Because, I knew the Starfire, but I shoot 1 to 2 shows a year. He's shooting hundreds. And I'm like, hey, if something goes wrong, I'm going to ask Tim. He's going to be able to say, yep, fix it, do that. And he did. I mean, we had a little issue, and it was more of an issue like they were both having, but I was thankful to have him there to almost be like a mentor, like, hey man, I'm here for you. Like, this is, you got it, but I'm here to help you out. And I appreciate that, cause he was busy all weekend working on their show, and he would give me 10 minutes of his time to say, you know what, brother, I'm going to make sure your show goes up in the air and there's nothing going to be wrong with it because you put just as much sweat and tears into this event. And so it's like, I appreciate those kind of things. And there's so many people that are out there that take that for granted.
Oh, dude, I think like on the commercial side, and Tim is definitely, I think, the exception to this, but if you look at the hobbyist community and you look at, I guess, the intra-industry community on like the Skywar side, you look at all of those network connections, right? And then you kind of venture outside of this, because I've experienced this a little bit in the club setting, but it's typically the display companies outside of the club setting. It seems so closed off, right? They're not willing to have those relationships, which in a sense kind of makes sense, right? Because the minute that you, I guess if you open yourself up beyond, your own internal network, if you're a display company, then you're theoretically potentially losing money, right? Because other people might be getting other shows and things like that. IPC and Tim's, he's never ever been like that. He's been so open, and everybody that's kind of that plays really, plays friendly with clubs and hobbyists and things like that. I mean, just look at all of the cool things that have happened within the industry and all of the innovations that have taken place because of I don't know, open source information, I suppose. There's no gatekeeping or closed off anything. It's just a bunch of people that do this because they love it, and it winds up innovating within the industry. And I think that's really, really, really special.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, like you said, there's companies, you have to keep things close to the vest, like there's certain things it's like, you know what, I'm not going to share information of this or do that. But when it comes to things like helping people, it's like, I can be a person that helps, I'm not going to give all my trade secrets, or I'm going to give all my customers, anybody, especially like on the display side, like you said. I mean, those guys, that's their living. And if I bring in all these people and say, oh, I do this is how I do it. Next, the guy goes, well, instead of working for you, I could do this myself. And next, they're taking shows, and then you feel like you've been stabbed in the back. And, that's the worst feeling is when you've done all this work and somebody, and it's like, wait a second, I did all this work for you. And then you turn around and, basically stab you in the back because you think you could do something better. And then most of the time those guys don't succeed because they don't know the business, or they think it's a quick buck. And, you see it, I think you see a lot in the retail side of things with custom people. Everybody sees fireworks stores like, oh, I could put it to a fireworks store. They're going to make money. And it's like, well, yeah, you can make money, but there's also overhead costs. There's insurance costs. There's, people, there's buildings, there's time of year. And it's like
the million things they don't think about.
They don't think about, they just see, everybody sees the instant dollar. And you watch guys go into this and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And they get themselves to a point and it's like, then they fail. And they're like, well, why did I fail? It's like, well, you tried to get too big too quickly, or you jump from the progression of, okay, I was buying wholesale and then bam, I can import containers. Well, yeah, container pricing is great, but it also takes a lot more than just sending it and getting a container. Like that's a lot of product that you're getting. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's like, well, now I owe all this money and I couldn't pick and choose as much. And now I'm trying to do this and then I can't pay something back, or I can't, my business is not succeeding, or you set up somewhere and then the next year your competitors complain about you. And that's the problem. This business is, we all like to be friends. We can all talk to each other. You can go to events and I can sit down and talk to somebody from another company and, we can act like we've been best friends forever. We can have a great conversation, but in the long run, we're still in the business. But it's like people want to backstab you, and if you do something, they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna call you out," or you don't have this, and then because you're invading in my territory, it's like this is my territory, stay out. And it's a very unique business, I think, where it's people can get along, and I always say there's enough of us to get around, to enough customers to sell to. It's just how are you going to do it in a way that you don't make everybody mad all the time, because if you come in guns blazing thinking I'm going to turn my company into the biggest wholesaler in the world. Hey, great for you. I give you ambitions, but there's other companies that are much bigger and you're going to say, who's this guy? Who's this? And they don't like that. And unfortunately they have the money and you probably don't. And they can do whatever they want to, or, if they say, hey, you start going here, they'll put a store next to you. You see it all the time where companies will, they'll say, hey, I'll put a store next to you and then I'll undercut you. And then it's like, well, too bad. They have the money to eat. They have so many stores that they can undercut you at this store, but they'll make it in another state, because you pissed them off enough.
That's like you were saying where you get along with other vendors and stuff. You'll be the first person that recommends other companies on the Facebook forums all the time, or pages. Well, like you get in there and you're like, where are you from? Oh, hey, these guys are close to you, or there's this guy. Like you said, you don't really push yourself, but you'll push other companies around to people.
Yeah, I think it is because for me is, with, this industry and, there's a big thing everybody, complains of freight costs. And, depending on where you're getting it shipped from, freight can be excessive, but it's also like, if you're just a smaller person and you're 20 minutes from another company, it's like, well, go there. Like, I love your business, but in the end of the day, me shipping to you, you're going to say, oh man, it gets expensive shipping. It's like, we'll go there. Like, and guess what? That person will thank me. And usually what ends up happening is that person will go to that person, but then they'll also start buying from me. It's like I made a two-way connection almost. Like I recommended somebody, I didn't recommend myself, but it's like then I also say, well, I'm still here for you, but I'm trying to make sure you get what you want at, best price for you, because we don't all have money. And if somebody's close to you, go build that relationship, make a relationship with that wholesaler, make that relationship with retailers. Everybody says, oh, retailers, like go in and talk to some of these retailers. I think people underestimate the value of talking and going in and say, hey, I love your story, I love your product. Like, work with them. Like they're in business too. And you make that relationship, you'd be surprised what those retailers will do for you. Especially when you're looking for those one-off things like, hey, I need this cake and well, they have it, but man, they're charging $50 and, wholesale it's this. Well, go pay that $50. Go support that local retailer to buy that cake and make that relationship, because you never know where it's going to go. That retailer might turn into a wholesaler and next, you have that relationship and well, hey, but you can use an example like, hey, Bo, you've been coming in here and supporting me now in Cohosa. I'm going to reach out to you right away. Like, let's get you buying from me directly instead of going here and buying the one-off here. You know, let's make those relationships.
I love that you do that, man. You know, for hobbyists like us that, you know, are trying to plug in that stuff into very specific things. And, you know, let's face it, we're a little pompous. You know, we gotta have a certain effect, and it's gonna go right there, man. You don't understand.
Oh yeah.
So
it's
yeah, and like I love it. You're just like, I'm sorry, I don't like you. Comment's a comment, man. I don't.
They're never gonna get old.
No,
when I
never.
saw Ellery last week, I mean, that was just like the joke
was the first
of the day.
thing out of his mouth. Did he say, "You guys still around with all that, you know, the Sims and stuff"?
Yeah. Well, and when I have to listen to, you know, I've met Ellery.
How many of you guys
Ellery
finished since we last talked? Like 3?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I think Ellery made a good point when you were on your podcast with him. Like, I was the same way back in the day with Finale 3D. I didn't care about having my sim look right. I just needed the timing. Yeah. And I mean, that's the great thing about, you know, Finale 3D or Finale at the time. Now it's 3D, but it's like, I'm not showing this sim to anybody to impress them to sell the show. I just need the timing. So when I put it into my firing system, it's like, bam. And like, I was glad to hear somebody else have that same thought. Like, yes, I want it to look what it's going to look like, but timing wise, like you said, it's comment to comment. If I don't have the sim for a certain effect, well, I just need a comment. Who cares what it looks like on the sim? It's going to go, I can label it, change the label on it and what I'm buying, but it's going to do the same thing in timing wise, just a different effect.
We're all living our life wrong.
I wouldn't know. I haven't opened Finale in since October.
Yep.
So I couldn't tell you. Maybe my comments don't do what my comments used to do. Or my mind.
Don't update.
Or anything. Yeah, don't update. Don't update. Let's see. Let's talk about, you want to talk about the Epic brand? I really want to talk about the Epic brand.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I love Mindhunter. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Den Fireworks is the guy. Very nice dude.
Yes.
He showed me some canister shells. It's on Facebook. Like what's the canister? Is it plasma something? Okay.
Yeah, plasma torches.
When he was like, they got rising effects on them. I was like, at first I was like, oh, really? And then he posted his video and I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, they really do have rising effects on them. Yep. First thing I thought is like, well, that would be really neat to kind of sprinkle into 1 3/4 finales just throughout.
Yep.
If you have volleys, 6 or 7 shells in, every 6th or 7th shell, throw in one of those. So you've got like a rising tail beneath your finale. Yep.
Well, and I like on those because it's got that strobing effect to it, like a strobing willow effect to it. When I saw that and I was like, okay, it's not your normal gold comet to break. I was like, I got to have that. When I saw the video of that, I was like, that's amazing shell. All right, let's get this ordered. Let's design the box to, this, let's get it going. Let's get it on the water because I think these are going to be great shells because it's that new layer effect of, not just a can shell. I mean, most people want can shells. They want them to be big and loud. But man, like you can add that extra layer to it. It's like you made that shell even more useful. Like I can, like you said, how you said just using it, Yeah,
just like the 007 shells.
What do those do?
So they have mine.
It's got mines, comets, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, anything that bridges that gap between, your essentially your lift point, your ground and then your break, that space that sure you could fill it with something else. You could throw a 200-gram cake in there or a zipper or something like that. But depending on how you configure your racks, you could always fan your racks if you have the space for it and create that same effect just using one effect.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Because you don't necessarily need to go crazy with it and use a whole bunch of extra product.
Doesn't the other shells do that? Oh, I forgot the name of them. It's the one with like the medieval guy on it.
Hold on a second. If we're going to be doing, we might as well. Delicioso. Impromptu cake talk. She's not kicked off episode 3, but when in Rome. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the Dark Princes.
Yeah,
yeah. And that's, the nice part of everybody talks about, a 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch shell. Yeah, they all have the same comp usually. But I mean, when you get those 5s and 6s, you get those tails or mines. I mean, it just makes it more like double layered effect where it's like, okay, I'm filling the sky with something, not just out of the tube and boom. Yeah. I mean, it gives it more element to it.
Yeah, well, like you said, that for the consumer, that's huge, and it enlightens us too. I mean, I like that effect.
Enlightens. I see what you did there. Yeah, the glitter.
Sometimes.
Yeah, zing. The glitterati cakes. I dig those too. I think those are really nice. And there was he had mentioned another one that I think I got a couple of years ago from you. I think it's a Nishiki stepper, but it's got like a mine to a break, but they're inserts. They're not
Serenity.
Shells. Yeah, that's it. Serenity.
Yep, Serenity. Yep.
That's another really cool one, man.
Yep.
I'm taking cases of those and kind of layering them together, and then putting something up in the high level like a Noab or a 2-inch cake.
Yep.
Chef's kiss, baby. Glitterati.
And then you put the junior with it.
Mm-hmm.
I forget. It's Glitterati Junior. Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
See? Throw them all up at one time.
Yep.
Jamie, you got any favorite? Yeah. Jamie, you got any favorite epic cakes?
I can't think some off the top of the head. You already took all mine. Every time I want to buy something like that, AJ's already bought them all. Yeah, Marcus is like, not coming into next year.
Yep.
I don't know. So there's a couple I'll mention. I think actually one was on the mention last one, that VIP cake.
Yep.
I just like that one because it's got multiple stuff in it. It's something you can play around with, but it's got a nice filler. And then one that may not be popular and is Victory. I like that one just because it breaks up. Like you have a comet and you have something else that breaks in it, but it gives you something else to play with. And when you're doing like a body bit show, if you light 4 of those off at one time and they start becoming slightly off timed, it's just nice because you get a whole different effect in the air.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that was pretty cheap too, but you're out of them.
Marcus, do you have a filter on the website to sort by brand?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You should be able to go with brand. It goes category. I think there's one for brand in there. I think it's yep. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm just not looking at the right place here, I think.
That's it. See, the website's too good at confused Bo.
Yep.
You can do Finale 3D, but you can't do the Finale or the Fireworks Forever website.
I can do.
I'll teach you.
I can do Finale 3D. Oh man. Oh geez. All right. Let's see. We're man. I tell you what, Marcus, you make time fly, buddy. Been here for an hour and 40 minutes.
I know. It's like me.
Seriously?
It's like me and AJ's phone conversations. They think you're 5 minutes and they're 2 hours later.
Oh man! Well, this random talk pops up.
Exactly.
All right, let's do some voicemails. We got. Oh wait, where is it? Oh, this might be loud.
Hello. No one in the
That sucks. I feel like I'm going to say that now every single time the voicemail thing starts. It's going to be loud.
Dude, I just had a great idea. We need to make a music video with that. We'll have you doing the guitar, I'll play the drums, and Jamie will be singing it.
I like that idea.
Isn't that I could see that. That'd be a really cool
music podcast.
We're trying to end the podcast. I don't know. I would argue that we get more listeners off of something like that.
Then do an AI version of it.
An AI. Oh my God. Wow. Well, we got 5 voicemails. I think as far as AI goes, I bet you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm sure one of these is going to have an AI voice. But the first is from the illest and the realest.
All right, Marcus, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize because this question, it ain't for you, bud. Sorry. Boy, listen, I'm trying to understand this thing, and I just don't stinking get it. This Discord thing, every time I get on there, it's like 126 missed messages about all kinds of stuff, and I keep scrolling, can't find out where I picked up from where I left off, and I don't know what's going on. What is this thing? Is this just some never-ending dadgum AOL chat room or what, boys? Somebody help me out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey, this is a bonus. That means he's on the Discord, so we need to figure out which one it is.
Yeah.
When you figure it out, let us know.
That's an appropriate answer. I thought for a second there that you were talking about his identity, but then I realized, dude, you're talking about the Discord, and that was completely relatable. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to work it. I'm just learning this crap as I go. Usually in any of the messages and groups that we've ever had where I come back and it says I think I have a threshold. It's like 30 messages or something like that. If it's 30 messages and I'm not cooking up a good poop or something, then forget it. I'm not even going to read it. I'll just send, sorry. So many messages. Usually I think that's my go-to is, wow, so many messages. And then that can be translated as that's Bo for he's not going to read any of that.
I'm not reading, but I'll go from here.
Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? Oh, geez. Let's see. That's a pretty good plug. Now, yeah, go join the Discord.
Yep.
There is a link in the description of the podcast episode to the Discord. I bet you didn't know that. All right, next voicemail is from Brandon.
It's the man, the myth, the legend, the godfather of the Unlimited, and Mr. Fireworks Forever himself. Hey, I just wanted to hop on here and say huge thank you for all that you do for the pyro community. It was really great to finally meet you at Skywars last year, and definitely a huge thanks for all of your help with a great product in that show. It really, really stood out, and I really, really enjoyed everything that I got from you guys. Now that I can say that I've been out in that field and been there, done that, got my name on it, my question for you, Marcus, is when you shot the first Unlimited show back in the day, did you learn anything new that you didn't know before that show? And what was your favorite memory from your Unlimited show there? Also, if not already answered, would you consider doing another show at Skywars in the near future? Thanks.
Well, I think I answered that the last question. Yes, I would want to do another show.
Go back and then do the space bar pause thing for you again, like that other guy that asked like 30 questions. You're like, hold on.
You go so fast that I can't even keep up with.
Let's see. So things that I learned from that show is space out your 15 shot slices more, or don't use as many. Always, for that, being that was the biggest show I've ever done, I wasn't anal about checking people's work. There were some spots where it was like, why didn't you match both ends of this cake? And now this cake is slow and it's going when it shouldn't be going. So I think that's one of those things. And I think learning just for me there's so much more you can do. Like, I was trying to do so much product and, doing to a non-vocal sounds that I was just like, hey, I want to fill the sky with stuff in a way that is artistic, but also putting a lot of stuff in the sky. And seeing it now, I think learning, I'd be like, I could have done a little bit more space in here, a little bit more space in there, but I never had that ability to shoot something that wide. So it was like, I didn't know. For me, I'm not very good at distances and spacing. Like when I watch a cake go up in the air, everybody's like, oh, that thing went 150 feet in the air. And I'm like, that cake only went 40 feet in the air. What the heck are you talking about? Like, so I think that's what I learned. And I think the best memory was being able to, work with different people down there. Thursday I got to work with Steve and John from Indiana. They came out and helped when it was 95 degrees and matching comets. And then Friday and Saturday it was Scott and Craig and Charlie and those guys helping out. And then I had brought James Baxter. He's actually doing one of the 1-3 shows. He came down with me and he helped us out. And it was just, I think, just to get to spend a weekend in the field with people that are like you and enjoy doing it. And it was just a good time. And then I probably the biggest thing for me was standing in that field. I wasn't standing off the side. I was in that field in the middle watching my show and standing next to somebody that, like, in the pyro world that I idled in a way of, he knew so much stuff, and I was able to stand next to him and say, "Hey, Tim, help me out here. Make sure I'm doing this right." Like, almost be like his little buddy and say, "Hey, you're growing up as a show person when this is your combination of going from something small to the wow factor." And I think that's the biggest thing, was being able to stand out there with somebody like him and knowing he had my back, and I was just another person, but, made a friendship with him. So I was just not another person, but I think that stands out. And, having, people, everybody from the company come down and help out. I mean, that's huge, because that's what we do. And we all enjoy doing it. And it was like an eye opening for everybody. So I enjoyed that part.
Hey, real quick, that was your biggest field show biggest field you've ever got to do? Or was that the biggest show you were saying?
That was,
design wise.
Design wise, that was the biggest show I've designed. I mean, back in the day when we did our 1-3 shows, we had a bigger spread, width of things, but it was, like you said, you were shooting 1-3 shells. You weren't trying to do comets. You weren't trying to do comet runs or slices. It was, okay, I'm throwing up 3s, a couple angled 4s, some 5s, some 6s, 8s, 12 inch, a 16 inch. You weren't, doing those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. He's Chad Money.
Chad Money.
We got Marcus Money, Chad Money. No. Actually, Marcus just bought a house, so he broke.
Yep.
Until his daughter becomes a lawyer.
Exactly. That's what I'm banking on.
She's going to pass the bar at the ripe age of what, 12?
Well, 15? I mean, the way she argues on things,
she can probably get her license now.
she could convince you that you could sit there and say to her, "Yep, I know my answer is right and yours is wrong," but she will make you believe that her answer is right, and she will do it so well. And I'm like, man, like,
geez. Yeah, she might be on the same Facebook group that AJ's on.
What does that mean?
Those two
Tips and tricks. Yeah, right. I'd love to. We got to make that happen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A debate for the ages.
Patreon.
AJ versus Marcus's daughter.
Patreon.
Yeah. Pay-per-view. Right. Okay, third one's from Anonymous. Thanks, Brandon, for the call.
Hey, Marcus here. I just been wondering if you have a video.
Well, I'm going to give it to him because it's not AI this time. So...
Oh, is this?
No, that's not AI.
Record something. How long does it usually take you to post the video, like edit it, get the soundtrack ready, and just how long does it take you to, finalize your video? Yeah, that's really it. Love your product. Love what you do. Long time customer, and I really love everything you offer.
Wow.
Thanks for being who you are. No matter what them Bozazzi's boys say about you.
Wow.
Marcus, how be you feeling about this patron?
Oh, damn. Whoever you are.
Damn.
I got nothing.
When you...
Matey.
Yeah, right. You got to respond like a pirate.
Yeah,
obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Oh, that was amazing.
I guess I don't know the videos and music, I guess I don't know what he's referring to. If he's talking.
Oh, I can tell you exactly who he's referring to.
Okay.
And actually kind of said his name. Exactly.
Exactly
Who he's referring to. Oh, man. Sorry.
Just
Matey,
just tell him that. Just tell him I'm going to wear a clown outfit next time I see him.
AJ was onto something in the chat. He was like, he kind of looks like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. It's like, I would have to agree with that. I mean, just the shape of the afro and everything. At one point, he had some pretty elaborate face paint on you that made you look like a member of the Insane Clown Posse.
No. The prison one was the best, though.
The prison one was pretty good too.
That was pretty good. Like that looks like a mugshot, like he's a true.
Marcus is a true juggalo.
How did he get that?
That's my fault. That's my fault.
No, I was talking about the
That's
mugshot.
why you're not on the special tier.
My bad. Yeah. There goes there's whatever discount I hope to have had. All right. Next one.
Wait, is your account being deleted?
Yeah. Click. Clackety clack, clack, clack. The pattering sound of calloused hands on a keyboard. All right. Next one's from J Boz.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey there, Marcus. I want to hear your best and worst customer service experience. I'm sure you've had some Karens and Kevins in your time there.
I was hoping she's going to say pirate impression, but we can do that too.
Karens and Kevins.
Karens and Kevins. I've never heard the Kevin one before.
Yeah.
Before you begin, I'm just sorry about that last one. So, just kidding.
He's not. He's not at all.
Customers, worst and best. I mean, there's too many names for best experiences.
They're always right. I heard.
Yep. Yeah. Probably I think the worst. Jeez. I don't think it's the worst by, the people being rude to me. It was basically me helping you out with orders and product for 3 months, and then basically that person turned around and stabbing you in the back. I think that was probably the worst one. I won't go into details about it, but I think that's the worst. I mean, the customers I deal with are always great. I mean, you're going to get somebody getting mad about this or that, but usually it's, a forklift runs through the pallet at the terminal. I can't control that, or, something got missed. Yeah. Okay, my guys missed something. I'm sorry. I'll get you. I'll send you some more. I'll send it to you. We'll take care of you. But it's not like, oh my gosh, I don't have people calling me screaming. On that. So that's kind of nice. I mean, maybe I will someday. Maybe I'll have Jamie calling, screaming at me. Who knows?
You just got to learn like a diffusion tactic or something. When somebody's like really reaming you, just like scream something out loud. Like no one can resist my sweaty balls or something.
Yep.
Something totally irrelevant. There's Hidden Valley Ranch Party and it's in my mouth. Like they're not going to know what to say.
What is that?
Send you some balls.
Exactly. I was trying to find something so irrelevant that Jamie would laugh, and I did it.
I will send you balls.
I did it.
Wow.
Oh boy.
I did it.
It took a turn for the worse in this podcast. We're talking about balls now.
It did. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. The last one's from Anonymous.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. First of all, congrats to Marcus for making it this far into the podcast without hanging up. I can typically only make it about 9 minutes and 27.
I gotta go back. Can we just, can we go back to the very beginning? Because I'm pretty sure he took a swig of something right as he started to record. I want to make sure I'm hearing this right.
Is it, you think?
Hold on. Listen. Boom.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. First of all, congrats to Marcus for making it this far into the podcast without hanging up. I can typically only make it about 9 minutes and 27 seconds before I have to take a break from the stupidity that is the Rhythm Pirate podcast. When thinking about purchasing product for a show, especially if your show is around the 4th, what is your recommendation on how early orders should be placed to ensure that you get the product that you want for your show before you run the risk of products becoming unavailable? Also, want to say thank you for all that you do for the Pyro community.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I think if you're going to Yeah, it's to me. I always tell people. Yeah, now
2 months ago.
I always tell people to tell me sooner than later. So like I always tell people, like, you don't have to wait until something comes in stock. You don't have to wait until you see it in transit on our website. If you know you want an item and you know you're going to need it for your show in November, tell me about it. I'll reserve it for you. I'll hold it for you. Like, make sure that you get it, because as this business, I never know one from year to year, like an item comes in. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I have enough. And somebody comes in and goes, I love this cake. And, you know, especially a retailer, and goes, I'm going to buy 50 cases of it. And I'm like, where did you come from? You know, and then that cake, that's a percent of it gone. And everybody's like, well, where does cake go? Or I get a lot of times when people will be on our website and they'll see in transit. And then next, you know, a week later, they're like, it's out of stock. And they're like, well, did this ever come in? I'm like, it hasn't even arrived yet. They're like, well, how can it be out of stock? I'm like, people have already told me they wanted it. They've already ordered it. They don't wait. Yeah. Like, you don't wait till it lands. I mean, I understand some other companies do it differently, but it's like when it's in transit, man, take it and order it right away. Even if you're just email me and say, hey, I need one case. Like, I don't need your whole order. Like, I know I want this item, reserved for me. And then if 2 months later, you're like, hey, I need these 3 cases. Okay, great. Add it to your order. Like, I'm all about helping you build your show and keeping the product for you as soon as you can. Because on my end, I look at it as like, well, that item's sold then. Like, I'm not going into the season going, okay, I'm unloading a container. Am I going to sell it? Where I unload a container and go, hey guys, you know, you're putting away like, you know, X amount of cases already sold. Like, so put it here because it's going to be leaving out the door here pretty soon. I like that because it gives me more of a snapshot of what the season's going to be. And then also, you know, this is before, you know, COVID and stuff, but I always like that because if an item I ordered, let's say I ordered an item, 50 cases of it. And I was like, okay, this is what I normally sell in a year. Maybe I sell less, I carry it over. And next one starts selling really fast because somebody posted a video about it or somebody wants it. It's like, well, I need to get more. And some suppliers carry overstock. And I'm like, hey, I ordered this, but I need more from them because I'm getting the demand. So I'm not going, it's not May going, oh man, I wish I would have got another 50 or 100 cases of this because I didn't know everybody's going to buy it right away.
Yeah. It's got to be easier to know ahead of time and reserve it rather than come back later and then have to tell people, sorry, you're going to have to message AJ and see if you can pry it out of his cold dead hand.
There you go.
You know what? Marcus actually sometimes when we
Jamie, Ixnay.
Footnote.
I'll delete
1
that
minute,
right there.
57 seconds.
Yeah.
They're all at Chad's house anyways. I need my shipping list so I know what he's got because he's going to try to take it from me.
You didn't have any 22s.
Yeah.
Didn't?
I notice every time he sends a video of my stack that used to be there, it keeps getting smaller. It's not that he's recording further away.
It makes you think that
he's done with his show, so he's going to spend the next 3 months screwing with Jamie.
He's like, hey, when you pick up your stuff from Marcus, can you pick up mine and drop it off?
Oh, thank you for calling in, and big thank you to the anonymous pirate. That's a good one.
Anonymous
pirate. So the last thing I want to ask you about, I meant to ask you about this earlier, but what do you make of the tightening 1.4 Pro regulations?
Oh boy. Mm-hmm. You should ask this beginning here, Bo.
Yeah, I know. This could be another episode in and of itself, but give me a synopsis.
I think there's 2 ends to it. I think some of it needs to be tightened down, but I also am worried that as somebody that likes to do shows, that it's going to get too tightened down because of what has happened in this industry. And unfortunately, I don't want to see those items go away. I mean, I don't care about cakes. I mean, there's some cakes I want, but don't take away my comets. Don't take away my mines. Don't take away my strobes. Don't take away the single shot stuff. I don't take that away, and unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's a lot of new rules coming down from different states, and yes, it's going to put pressure on people. And I think it's already putting pressure on people in situations in that state. But I think sometimes that pressure might be good to fix itself a little bit in a way that we don't lose that category, or that category gets harder to get in. I mean, if you think about it, when we had that little moment of 1.4 Pro had to come in, had to be exported out of China as 1.3, and then when it came over the States, it was turned back to 1.4, and I mean, it really limited it to suppliers of those items, or the availability. Because certain people were getting it in, and because there was such low availability, it got eaten up, and then the normal guy's like, "Oh, I need some comets, but there's none available," and I don't want to see it be taken away so people lose the ability to do the shows that they want to do. And I don't want to nobody wants to go back to pulling, cakes apart that had comets, or, stuff like that. Nobody, people do that, but nobody wants to do that anymore. And I don't know where it's going to go. I keep a pulse on it every day. I mean, I talked to different people, talked to somebody in the industry yesterday, significantly about it. And, got I think some promising news on some things, but I don't know where it's going to go. And unfortunately, the industry needed to police itself a little bit on this, and we didn't police ourselves. And now we're in that kind of like, well, you guys did it, you guys screwed up, and everybody wants to jump in and, take things away. And it's like, well, the Pro, if you really look at Pro though, I mean, people go get trained. I mean, they take the PGI course, PGI course is geared more to 1.3, but you're at least learning about the effects of 1.3. I mean, when you see a 1.3 shell go off and go through the chicken, and, when it KO, I mean, you have a more appreciation for bigger fireworks. Okay. Now I'm doing Pro where, I'm not going to have a KO because comets, but I also have to be careful because that comet goes 200 feet, and if it falls over, it could go into somebody's house. You're doing safety. And Pro, everybody's shooting with E-fire in it. They've got their Cobras, their Mongooses, their Starfires, their Ignites, and they're farther away. So in the grand scheme, we're promoting almost a safer product there, because we're saying, hey, we want some kind of training, and to shoot this stuff, you have to electrically fire it. So you're not next to it. I mean, when you think about injuries in fireworks, like, it's everybody. The biggest top one is sparklers. People give their kids sparklers, and they don't pay attention. The kids wave around and run, and then somebody runs by them and sparklers in a kid's face, or bottle rockets, or they'll shoot a cake and it shoots out. There's a malfunction, it shoots out the side. You're right there when you're lighting it, but when you're shooting Pro, you're a certain distance away, at least away, so that you're being safer. And now we're saying, well, we want to regulate this more in a way. And I understand why they want to regulate it, and I'm not going to go into that. But I think the safety reason of it is you don't hear injuries on this. People are doing it safer than the person doing the backyard fireworks show. And, it's kind of one of those things where, I understand certain items are out there and available, and, great. I mean, but we're also shooting those items, electrically firing them, and we're farther away. And, people are doing it the right way. Not everybody's, they're not being sold always in the right way. And, this is a business. I'm not going to ever ridicule anybody for trying to make a life out of selling fireworks. I mean, I could be not like what you're doing, but it's your business. And, I don't want you to tell me how we do our business, or I tell you business but it's an industry, and unfortunately we didn't police ourselves, and it kind of got released to the hounds, and it's everywhere. And now everybody's pushing back. And I don't know. Do we need a pushback? Yes. But we don't need a complete pushback shutdown, because you're just taking away some great product and the ability for people to go do their thing in the sky.
Right. And like you mentioned too, I don't know personally if the comets and minds and the things that I like to utilize to convey timing went away. I think just where I am, I'm satisfied enough in my journey to where I think I would probably just calm my shows down and not go nuts, because I just can't. I already have such little time to invest. But not only that, it's just like knowing what I know now and being licensed, it's not safe. That's not the intended use of consumer product. It's like when you're taking it and mangling it and pulling it all apart, like you're technically getting into manufacturing territory anyway. So like this was creating a product that serviced a niche, and it was created to make us safe.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, you're not pulling things apart, punching tubes. It's already punched for you. You put the shroud in, you put a little tape over it, you put a cap over it, you put it in a rack, you're good to go. I mean, look at like the things like, we all started back in the day before, Crayco racks and all the different racks. Like we were all using troughs, shoving them all in a trough and putting them nicely tight together. But we didn't have to worry about them blowing up because it was a comet. It was a mine. Yep. It's not going to, to destroy this rack. And it was like, look what we did, how, safety and how innovative. Now we came up with, Brian came up with his racks, and it's like, well, you're making it safer for everybody and easier, and you're doing less handling of the product. I think that's where everybody we have issues, is more handling of product. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that happen. It always does. And this way it was, you put an E-match in, put it in your thing, plug the E-match into your, your rail, your firing system, whatever you're using, and call it a day. Like there's not a lot of touching or manipulating of product.
Exactly. Put it in the thing.
Yep.
What do you think Fireworks Forever will do if it does go that route? Will you still continue to sell it to be a supplier? Or would you open that space up more for more consumer?
Well, I mean, it depends. Like I said, like where does it go? Who's regulating it? Like right now, we had a change from the APA and DOT with the, no more of the 0336. They're not issuing any more EX numbers for it, for new items. Let's say that. You can still get those previous items that have valid EX numbers. We'll be able to get those from year to year. Will they clamp down on, let's say, comp and things? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what APA was going to do with 87-1C. I'm a small company. I don't get a seat at the table. I'm just, just a little guy, and, I don't know where it's going to go. But to me, it's, what does the ATF do with it? Because if you look at basically what they define as articles of pyrotechnics, I mean, they put in their limits of 500 grams must be like, basically consumer stuff, but, can be modified for comets and stuff like that. What do they do? Because I think they're the bigger agency that if they want to clamp down, they can. I don't know if they will, because, now you're bringing a whole bunch more product that people have. It's not just 1.3. It's like, well, all these people have this 1.4 Pro and you have it. This guy has it. This guy has this. That's a lot of people to find out who has and regulate. I don't know, but I don't see it going away. I think you just have to evolve. I mean, if I can only still get the same items every year because of easier importing, I'm going to keep getting the comments. I'm going to keep getting the mines. I'm going to get these items. If you want to start doing anything new, that's when it's going to turn to, okay, now you have to import it this way as 1.3 and DOT special permit. And, that's where I'm interested to see where it goes, because technically, into the ATF, you are importing a 1.3 thing until it hits the States. I mean, they do know that, hey, once it's a state, its EX number is 1.4, but you got to start making sure like, okay, well, I'm bringing these containers as 1.3, but what am I putting on those containers? If it's all pro and like it's comments and mines and you can show that, great. But what if I start throwing some other things on there and say, nope, I got in it this way, all of this, and I don't keep record of, let's say 1-3 shells. If that's what somebody wants to do, it's like then they get more involved, and I don't know if they will, but we also don't want them to get too involved and be in a sense where it's like we're going to clamp down and say we're taking this all the way and we don't care anymore. It's got to be 1-3 and it's 1-3 and too bad, and then that limits to, okay, now you got to have a 1-3 license, ATF license. And I think that category goes away. I mean, I don't have, I don't sell to a lot of 1-3 guys, we do sell to companies, but I don't have a market share to say, well, if I lose this, I can still make it up here. I mean, I could still have it, but I don't want to do anything 1-3. I don't want to deal with.
I was going to say. I mean, and you got to change your entire. You got to change your entire business model too, in marketing and creating. The supply chain and logistics and things for people who are licensed to do that. And I mean, even now with the way that things are,
like, to make that switch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. Well, and the regulations. You go to 1-3, I can't just store it in a warehouse. I got to have it, out in containers in a bunker somewhere. I hear the horror stories from people with the ATF showing up and taking 2 days and going through all your inventory and not finding anything, but they want to be meticulous about it and good. But I don't want to deal with that. I want to just be able to say, put me an order. I put some cases on a pallet. I ship it to you, and not worry about that.
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody.
I did it again. I know.
No. I think the biggest thing is like the doom and gloom. Everybody's doom and gloom about things. And I think that's the problem is if somebody says something, a state is changing their regulations. Okay, could it trickle into other states? Possibly. That could be the future down the road. I don't know. There might be some states that say, hey, I see Missouri doing this, and they might catch on. Other states might go, I don't think we really have a problem, and I really don't want to put all this legislation, or we don't have a fire marshal that wants to get involved, or state fire marshaled. You never know, but it's. I hate when everybody's like, oh, it's not going to go away and it's going to go away because we as industry keep fueling the fire, and we don't say, hey, we need to maybe slow our roll a little bit and figure out a way that this works for everybody. We have something in place where, there's more training. Like, PGI, I think, is coming out with something in a 1-4 training, like specifically for pro. They'll have some 1-3 capacities.
I'm sorry, did you just say specifically?
Yes! I heard it too. I was like, I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah, you need to cut. I didn't cut your time down talking to AJ on the phone. I'm sorry, but he's rubbing off on you. He can shower or something. But go ahead.
I think that more the training. But like I said before, we can do all this training to people, but if people want to regulate, it's like, well, this is safer than that. But who are we gonna tell? Like, we can, as industry, can say, well, we're doing it the right way, and we need to do it the right way. But once again, we're just something underneath their thumb. Like, we don't like this way anymore, and we'll see.
Yeah, I know. And when we had Peter on it, it's disappointing because you feel like the industry kind of saw a window and chose poorly, for the lack of a better word, on how to handle a certain classification of product. And again, it all kind of stemmed back to losing the old 0431 and China not making it. But it just like it created a year or two where it was really hard to get things. So the industry was like, okay, we got to figure something out to service this market. And I think what was figured out was just not as thought through as it could have been. Yeah, it just left a lot of potential loopholes, and a lot of things got taken advantage of.
Yep. That's the unfortunate part is you didn't take time to think like, okay, why are we doing this way? Like the making it of 0336 professionals. Yes. It helped us get it out of China without, that designation of 0431 because China doesn't recognize it. I appreciate that. That made it easier on us. But, when you do other things, it's like, what motivates you to do this way? Like, who
Yeah,
is
and
in their back of
I'm
mind
sure
saying,
when all those guys are sitting there on the table trying to, figure out, okay, does this seem like the proper course of action? I'm sure there's people sitting around saying, okay, well, here's potentially how something could be used, not necessarily the wrong way, but in a way that could get us into hot water. Like, you don't know until you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You never know until the next one becomes a problem. And then what happens with the problem? They just start, then it's like, oh, we got to get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
Well, you created the problem, so let's fix it in a way that resolves for everybody, works for everybody, but it's not, completely getting rid of it.
Yeah. Let's specifically target that problem.
Yeah.
Marcus Berger, Fireworks Forever. Thank you, dude. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah. Let's see. We got wholesalefireworksforever.com, right?
Yep. Correct.
All right. Cool. Go make an account and peruse the new website while you're on the toilet next. Yeah. Stop talking about it.
You stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it.
Marcus.
You gotta say it.
Gotta say what? Oh, stop talking about it?